The small town of Maplewood was the kind of place where nothing exciting ever happened. Life moved at a steady pace, and most people liked it that way. Emma Taylor spent her days attending high school, working part-time at the local diner, and looking after her younger brother, Daniel. Their parents were often busy with work, so Emma had taken on the role of both sister and guardian. It wasn't always easy, but she didn't mind. She enjoyed taking care of things, especially when it came to Daniel. Daniel, on the other hand, was curious about everything. At just 12 years old, he had an insatiable appetite for adventure. He loved reading books about space, aliens, and faraway galaxies. To him, the idea of life beyond Earth wasn't just fascinating, it was thrilling. Emma would often tease him about his obsession, calling him Space Boy whenever he started rambling about black holes or extraterrestrial civilizations. But deep down she admired his imagination and how much he believed in the impossible. On a chilly October evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, something extraordinary happened. Emma and Daniel were sitting on the porch of their modest home, sipping hot chocolate and watching the stars twinkle to life. The sky was clear and the air smelled faintly of wood smoke from nearby chimneys. Everything seemed peaceful, until a streak of light tore across the heavens. At first, they thought it was a shooting star. But then another streak followed, and another, until the entire sky seemed alive with fiery trails. The lights weren't falling randomly. They were moving in a deliberate pattern, converging toward a single point above the town. Emma stood up, her mug slipping from her hands and shattering on the wooden planks beneath her feet. Daniel grabbed her arm, his eyes wide with awe. "Emma, do you see that?" he whispered, his voice trembling with excitement. Before she could answer, a deafening roar filled the air. It sounded like thunder, but deeper, more menacing. The ground shook violently, forcing them to hold on to the railing for support. Then, without warning, a massive object descended from the sky. It hovered silently above the center of town, casting an eerie glow over the streets and buildings. The townspeople poured out of their homes, staring up in disbelief at the alien ship. The vessel was enormous, its surface gleaming like polished silver. Strange symbols etched into its hull pulsed with a soft blue light. Drones buzzed around it like insects, scanning everything in sight. People screamed and ran in all directions, unsure whether they should flee or stay and try to understand what was happening. Cars screeched to a halt and phone lines lit up as panicked residents called friends and family to share the news. Emma felt frozen in place. Her heart pounded in her chest as she watched the scene unfold. For a moment, fear overwhelmed her rational thoughts. What did these aliens want? Were they here to hurt them? But then she noticed something strange. Despite the chaos, the drones weren't attacking anyone. They weren't even interacting with the humans, they were simply observing, gathering data. Emma's curiosity began to outweigh her fear. "We need to get closer," she said suddenly, turning to Daniel. "What? Are you crazy?" Daniel replied, shaking his head. "That thing is huge. What if they zap us with lasers or something?" "They haven't hurt anyone yet," Emma countered. "Besides, don't you want to know why they're here? This could be the discovery of a lifetime." Daniel hesitated. His love for all things alien warred with his instinct for self-preservation. Finally, he nodded reluctantly. "Okay, but if we die, I'm blaming you." Emma smiled despite herself. "Deal." Under the cover of darkness, the siblings crept through the deserted streets, avoiding the panicked crowds and keeping low to avoid drawing attention. As they approached the ship, the air grew colder, and a strange hum vibrated in their ears. The closer they got, the more surreal the scene became. The drones moved with precision, their mechanical limbs extending to touch objects and people. Some residents stood still, too frightened to move, while others tried to swat the drones away like pesky mosquitoes. Emma and Daniel crouched behind a parked car, watching intently. That's when Emma noticed something peculiar. One of the drones hovered near a patch of soil, its sensors glowing brighter as it scanned the ground. Another drone focused on a tree, examining its bark and leaves. Even the air itself seemed to be under scrutiny, as if the aliens were analyzing every element of Earth's environment. "They're not just studying us," Emma murmured, her voice barely audible over the hum. "They're studying everything, the soil, the plants, the air." "But why?" Daniel asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. "What's so special about dirt and trees?" "I don't know," Emma admitted. "But whatever it is, it must be important." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. A group of soldiers clad in camouflage uniforms appeared, their weapons drawn. They shouted orders, telling everyone to leave the area immediately. Emma recognized one of them, Captain Ryan Lewis, a stern-faced man who occasionally visited the diner where she worked. He was known for his no-nonsense attitude and unwavering dedication to duty. "Come on," Emma whispered, pulling Daniel to his feet. "We need to go before they see us." As they slipped away, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled upon something far bigger than themselves. The aliens' actions suggested purpose and intent, but their motives remained a mystery. Whatever the reason for their visit, one thing was certain. Life in Maplewood, and perhaps the entire world, would never be the same again. Back at home, Emma lay awake in bed, replaying the events of the night in her mind. She couldn't stop thinking about the drones and their methodical observations. Something about the whole situation felt off. It wasn't random. These aliens weren't tourists or invaders. They were scientists, explorers, or maybe even enforcers. But what were they searching for? And why had they chosen this particular moment to reveal themselves? As sleep finally claimed her, Emma resolved to find answers. Little did she know, those answers would lead her down a path she could never have imagined, a journey that would challenge everything she thought she knew about Earth, humanity, and the universe itself. The next morning, Maplewood was a town in turmoil. The streets were filled with military vehicles and soldiers patrolled every corner. Barricades had been set up around the perimeter of the alien ship, keeping curious onlookers at bay. People whispered anxiously to one another, sharing theories about why the aliens had come. Some believed they were here to make contact peacefully, while others feared an imminent attack. Despite the uncertainty, one thing was clear. Life as everyone knew it had changed forever. Emma woke up early, her mind racing with questions. She couldn't shake the images from the previous night. The glowing ship, the drones scanning everything, the eerie silence that seemed to hang over the entire town. Her curiosity burned brighter than ever. She wanted answers, but she didn't know where to start. Daniel, on the other hand, seemed more excited than scared. He spent most of the morning sketching pictures of the alien ship and imagining what the creatures inside might look like. Their father, Mr. Taylor, was unusually quiet during breakfast. A mechanic by trade, he had been called to help the military with some of their equipment earlier that morning. When Emma asked him about it, he shrugged and said, "They're just trying to figure out what's going on, same as everyone else." But there was a tension in his voice that made Emma suspect he knew more than he was letting on. Later that day, Emma decided to visit the makeshift command center the military had set up near the edge of town. It was housed in an old community center, its parking lot now crowded with trucks and tents. Soldiers bustled about, carrying radios, laptops, and crates of supplies. Emma figured if anyone had information about the aliens, it would be here. She approached the building. She saw a woman standing outside, poring over a stack of papers. Her name tag read Dr. Lisa Monroe, and she looked completely absorbed in her work. Emma hesitated for a moment before walking up to her. "Excuse me," Emma said nervously. "Are you working on figuring out what the aliens want?" "Doctor." Monroe looked up, surprised. She was younger than Emma had expected, with short brown hair and glasses perched on her nose. "Sort of," she replied. "I'm a linguist. I've been brought in to try and decode any messages or symbols we can find." Emma's heart raced. This was exactly the kind of person who could help her understand what was happening. "Have you found anything yet?" she asked eagerly. Dr. Monroe sighed and glanced back at her papers. "It's complicated. We've managed to translate bits and pieces of the symbols on their ship. So far, it looks like they're warnings, messages meant to convey urgency or danger." "Danger?" Emma repeated, her stomach sinking. "What kind of danger?" "That's The part we don't know yet, Dr. Monroe admitted. But whatever it is, it seems serious. The language they're using suggests they're not here for casual exploration. Emma thanked Dr. Monroe and stepped away, her mind spinning. Warnings? Danger? What could the aliens possibly be warning them about? She wanted to ask more questions, but she could tell Dr. Monroe was busy and didn't have time to explain further. Determined to learn more, Emma convinced Daniel to sneak into the restricted area around the alien ship later that evening. They waited until dark, when the soldiers' attention was focused elsewhere, and slipped past the barricades. The closer they got to the ship, the stronger the hum became, vibrating through their bodies like an invisible force. The air felt heavy, charged with energy. Hiding behind a cluster of bushes, they watched as the drones continued their methodical scans. One drone hovered near a group of soldiers, its sensors flashing rapidly. The soldiers backed away, clearly uneasy. Another drone moved toward a patch of soil. Digging into the ground with mechanical precision, it extracted a small sample and flew back to the ship, disappearing inside. "What do you think they're doing with all those samples?" Daniel whispered. "I don't know," Emma replied, her eyes fixed on the ship. "But it's like they're studying Earth itself. Not just us, but everything about this planet." Her words trailed off as something caught her eye. Near the base of the ship, faint markings glowed softly against the metal surface. They looked similar to the symbols Dr. Monroe had mentioned earlier. Without thinking, Emma crept closer, ignoring Daniel's protests. "Emma, stop," Daniel hissed. "You're going to get us caught." "We won't get caught if you stay quiet," she shot back, though her own nerves were starting to fray. Reaching the ship, she examined the markings more closely. They pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. She reached out instinctively, her fingers brushing against the cold metal. Suddenly, a sharp jolt ran through her arm and the markings flared brightly. Startled, Emma stumbled backward, nearly falling over. The hum intensified and the ship's surface shimmered as if reacting to her touch. Daniel grabbed her arm and pulled her away, dragging her back toward the bushes. "What did you do?" he demanded, his voice shaking. "I didn't mean to," Emma whispered, still shaken. "I just touched it." Before they could say anything else, a loud whirring sound filled the air. A drone descended from the ship, its sensors locking onto their position. Panic surged through Emma as she realized they'd been spotted. Grabbing Daniel's hand, she bolted, weaving between trees and dodging beams of light cast by the drone's searchlights. They barely made it back to the safety of their home, breathless and trembling. Collapsing onto the couch, Emma tried to process what had happened. The ship had reacted to her touch. It was as if it recognized her somehow. And the glowing symbols, they seemed alive, pulsing with purpose. Whatever the aliens were doing, it went beyond mere observation. The next morning, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the symbols. Something about them felt familiar, though she couldn't quite place why. Determined to investigate further, she snuck into the command center again, this time heading straight for Dr. Monroe's workstation. The linguist was hunched over her, laptop typing furiously. "Dr. Monroe," Emma said, interrupting her concentration. Dr. Monroe looked up, startled. "You again?" she said with a faint smile. "What is it this time?" "I saw the symbols last night," Emma blurted out. "On the ship. They glowed when I touched them." Dr. Monroe's expression turned serious. "You touched them? Did anything happen?" "They lit up," Emma explained. "And then the whole ship started humming louder. It was like it was responding to me." Dr. Monroe leaned back in her chair, her brow furrowed in thought. "That's unexpected. Most of the symbols we've analyzed so far are static. They don't change unless activated by specific frequencies. If the ship reacted to your touch, it means you triggered something significant." Emma swallowed hard. "Does that mean I'm in trouble?" "No, not necessarily," Dr. Monroe replied. "But it does mean you might have a unique connection to their technology. Tell me, have you ever seen symbols like these before?" Emma shook her head. "Not that I remember, but they feel important, like they're trying to tell us something." Dr. Monroe nodded slowly. That's exactly what I've been thinking. These aren't just random markings, they're messages. And based on what little we've translated so far, they seem to point to one conclusion. What's that? Emma asked, dreading the answer. Dr. Monroe hesitated as if unsure whether she should share what she knew. Finally, she said, the messages suggest that Earth isn't just being studied, it's being evaluated. For termination. Emma stared at her, stunned. Termination? You mean they're planning to destroy us? It's possible, Dr. Monroe admitted. But we don't know for sure yet. There are still gaps in our understanding. All we can do is keep analyzing the data and hope we find a way to communicate with them. Leaving the command center, Emma felt a weight pressing down on her chest. Termination. The word echoed in her mind, refusing to fade. How could this be happening? Why would the aliens want to destroy Earth? And what could humanity possibly do to stop them? Back at home, Emma confided in Daniel, telling him everything Dr. Monroe had said. To her surprise, he didn't look scared. He looked angry. That's not fair, he exclaimed. We didn't do anything wrong. Why should we? Be punished? I don't think it's about punishment, Emma said quietly. There's something bigger going on here, something we don't understand yet. But how are we supposed to figure it out? Daniel asked. We're just kids. Emma thought for a moment, her resolve hardening. We may be kids, but we're also the ones who've gotten closest to the ship. Maybe that means something. Maybe we're supposed to help. Daniel frowned. Help with what? Fighting aliens? We don't even know where to start. We'll figure it out, Emma said firmly. One step at a time. Little did they know, their journey was only beginning. The answers they sought would lead them deeper into the mystery of the aliens and closer to uncovering Earth's true purpose in the universe. But with each new discovery came greater risks, forcing Emma and Daniel to confront truths that would challenge everything they thought they knew about their world and themselves. The days that followed were a blur of chaos and uncertainty. News of the alien ship spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the globe. Governments scrambled to respond while scientists worked around the clock to decipher the symbols on the ship's hull. The world watched and waited, holding its breath as humanity faced the possibility of extinction. In Maplewood, tensions were running high. Soldiers patrolled the streets, enforcing curfews and preventing anyone from getting too close to the alien vessel. The townspeople were restless, torn between fear and frustration. Some demanded answers from the military, while others organized protests, shouting slogans like, "Why are they here?" and "Save our planet." Emma and Daniel stayed, mostly indoors, trying to avoid drawing attention to themselves. But inside their home, their minds raced with questions. Emma couldn't stop thinking about what Dr. Monroe had told her, that Earth might be marked for destruction. The idea was terrifying, but it also made her angry. Why should humanity be wiped out without even knowing why? What gave the aliens the right to decide Earth's fate? She felt powerless, but deep down, she refused to give up. If there was a way to fight back, she was determined to find it. One evening, as she sat at the kitchen table flipping through old science textbooks, Daniel burst into the room. His face was flushed with excitement, and he held a crumpled piece of paper in his hand. "Emma, look at this," he exclaimed, laying the paper on the table. It was a crude map of the town with several locations circled in red ink. "What is it?" Emma asked, leaning closer. "I overheard some soldiers talking," Daniel explained. "They said the aliens aren't just scanning random spots. They're targeting specific places, like the old factory by the river, the quarry outside of town, and the caves near the forest." Emma frowned. "Why those places?" "I don't know," Daniel admitted, "but I think we should check them out. Maybe they're looking for something important." Emma hesitated. Sneaking around again was risky, especially now that the military was keeping such a close watch. But curiosity got the better of her. If the aliens were searching for something, maybe finding it could give them a clue about their intentions. "All right," she said finally, "but we have to be careful. If we get caught, we'll be in serious trouble." That night, armed with flashlights and backpacks, Emma and Daniel set out on their mission. Their first stop was the old factory by the river. Abandoned for years, the building loomed eerily in the moonlight, its windows shattered and walls covered in graffiti. As they crept inside, the air smelled damp and musty, and the floor creaked beneath their feet. They didn't find much, just empty rooms filled with rusted machinery and piles of debris. Disappointed but undeterred, they moved on to the quarry. The open pit was surrounded by jagged rocks and heavy machinery, silent and still under the starlit sky. Again, they found nothing unusual. Finally, they reached the caves near the forest. Unlike the other locations, these caves felt different, as if they held secrets buried deep within their shadows. The entrance was narrow and dark, but Emma led the way, her flashlight cutting through the gloom. The air grew cooler the deeper they went, and the sound of dripping water echoed off the walls. After walking for what felt like hours, they stumbled upon something unexpected. Embedded in the cave wall was a strange object. It looked like a crystal, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Its surface shimmered with colors that seemed to shift and dance, almost alive. "Whoa," Daniel breathed, staring at it in awe. "Do you think the aliens left this here?" "I don't know," Emma replied, stepping closer. "But it doesn't look natural." She reached out cautiously, her fingers brushing against the crystal. Instantly, a surge of energy coursed through her body, and images flashed before her. Eyes. She saw flashes of Earth's history, ancient civilizations rising and falling, oceans forming, mountains erupting. Then the vision shifted, showing a massive explosion, consuming entire planets in a fiery inferno. Gasping, Emma pulled her hand away, stumbling backward. Her heart pounded as she tried to make sense of what she had seen. Daniel grabbed her arm, his voice trembling. "Are you okay? What happened?" I think it showed me something," Emma stammered. "Like Earth's past, and maybe its future." Before they could discuss it further, a low rumble shook the cave. Rocks tumbled from the ceiling, and dust filled the air. Panicked, they turned to leave, only to find their path blocked by fallen debris. Trapped, they shouted for help, hoping someone would hear them. Hours passed, or maybe it was minutes. Time seemed to blur in the darkness. Just when they thought all hope was lost, a voice called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" It was Jake Harper, a college dropout who lived on the outskirts of town. Known for his rebellious streak and knack for hacking, Jake had heard rumors about the caves and decided to investigate. Using a crowbar, he managed to clear enough rubble to free them. "You two really know how to get yourselves into trouble," Jake said with a smirk as they climbed out of the cave. "What were you doing down there anyway?" "We found something," Emma said, her voice urgent. "Something important. We need to show Dr. Monroe." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Dr. Monroe? You mean the linguist working with the military? How do you even know her?" "It's a long story," Emma replied. "But trust me, we don't have time to explain. Can you take us to the command center?" Reluctantly, Jake agreed. He drove them to the community center where Dr. Monroe was still hard at work. When Emma showed her the crystal, the linguist's eyes widened in shock. "Where did you find this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "In the caves," Emma explained. "When I touched it, it showed me visions of Earth's past, and maybe its future." Dr. Monroe examined the crystal carefully, her hands trembling slightly. "This changes everything," she murmured. "If this is what I think it is, then Earth wasn't formed naturally, it was engineered, for a purpose." "A purpose?" Emma repeated, her stomach sinking. "What kind of purpose?" Dr. Monroe hesitated, as if debating whether to share what she knew. Finally, she said, "Based on the symbols we've translated so far, it seems Earth contains a weapon, a device capable of destroying entire star systems. The aliens aren't here to conquer or communicate. They're here to ensure the weapon fulfills its intended purpose." Emma felt sick. "So they really are planning to destroy us?" "Not necessarily," Dr. Monroe replied. "There's still a chance we can negotiate, but we need proof. Something to show them that humanity deserves a second chance." Emma glanced at Daniel and Jake, determination burning in her chest. Then let's give them proof, together. Over the next few days, the four of them formed an unlikely team. Emma, the curious and resourceful leader, Daniel, the dreamer with endless imagination, Jake, the tech-savvy rebel, and Dr. Monroe, the brilliant linguist. They pored over the crystal's data, piecing together fragments of alien language and uncovering clues about the weapon buried deep within Earth's core. Their efforts didn't go unnoticed. One night, as they worked late in the command center, soldiers burst in, led by Captain Ryan Lewis. He glared at Emma, his expression stern. "What do you think you're doing?" he demanded. "You're interfering with classified operations." "We're trying to save the planet," Emma shot back, standing her ground. "And unless you want everyone to die, you'll let us keep going." Captain Lewis hesitated, clearly torn. After a tense moment, he sighed and stepped aside. "Fine, but if you mess this up, it's on your head." With the military's reluctant approval, the team continued their work. They discovered that the weapon wasn't just a tool of destruction, it was a failsafe, designed to eliminate rogue civilizations threatening universal balance. Humanity, unknowingly thriving on a ticking time bomb, was collateral damage. Armed with this knowledge, Emma came up with a bold plan. Using the crystal's energy, they could create a message encoded in the aliens' language, appealing directly to their sense of justice. It was a long shot, but it was the only chance they had. As they prepared to broadcast the message, Emma felt a mix of fear and hope. She didn't know if the aliens would listen, or if they'd even care. But one thing was certain: humanity's fate rested in their hands, and no matter what happened next, she was ready to face it head-on. The days leading up to the broadcast of their message were a whirlwind of activity. Emma, Daniel, Jake, and Dr. Monroe worked tirelessly, piecing together fragments of alien language and testing the crystal's energy to ensure it could transmit their plea. The weight of their task was immense, but none of them dared to slow down. If they failed, humanity might never get another chance. Emma took charge of the operation, her natural leadership shining through. She divided tasks among the group, assigning each person a role based on their strengths. Daniel, with his vivid imagination and knack for problem-solving, helped interpret the symbols etched into the crystal. Jake used his hacking skills to modify old radio equipment, turning it into a device capable of interfacing with the alien technology. Dr. Monroe focused on crafting the message itself, carefully selecting words and phrases that conveyed both urgency and sincerity. As they worked, tensions ran high. Captain Ryan Lewis checked in regularly, his skepticism evident in every glance and comment. "This is a waste of time," he muttered one evening, watching them tinker with wires and circuits. "You're dealing with beings far beyond our understanding. What makes you think they'll even listen?" Emma turned to face him, her expression resolute. "Because we have no other choice," she said firmly. "If we don't try, we're just giving up, and I'm not ready to do that." Her determination seemed to silence the captain, at least for a moment. Though he didn't voice it, there was a flicker of respect in his eyes, a recognition that these kids, along with Dr. Monroe, were willing to risk everything for a sliver of hope. Finally, after countless hours of trial and error, the team was ready. They set up the modified transmitter near the edge of the restricted zone, close enough to the alien ship to maximize the signal's reach. The crystal sat at the center of the device, glowing softly as if aware of its importance. Emma stood beside it, clutching a handwritten copy of the message. Her hands trembled slightly, but her voice remained steady. "Are we sure this will work?" Daniel asked nervously, glancing at the massive alien vessel looming in the distance. "No," Jake admitted bluntly. "But hey, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?" Dr. Monroe placed a reassuring hand on Emma's shoulder. "Whatever happens, we've done all we can. That's what matters." Taking a deep breath, Emma nodded. "All right, let's do this." She activated the transmitter, and the crystal's glow intensified. A low hum filled the air, growing louder as the device powered up. The message, encoded in the alien's intricate language, began streaming outward, carried by waves of energy that pulsed toward the ship. For several agonizing minutes, nothing happened. The team held their breath, waiting for any sign of acknowledgement. Then, without warning, the alien ship responded. A beam of light shot down from the vessel, striking the ground mere feet away from the transmitter. The force of the impact sent shockwaves rippling through the area, knocking everyone off their feet. When the dust settled, a figure emerged from the light, a towering alien being unlike anything they had imagined. Its form was sleek and metallic, with elongated limbs and a smooth, featureless head. Its body shimmered faintly, as though made of liquid metal. Despite its intimidating appearance, the alien moved with grace and precision, stepping closer until it stood directly in front of Emma. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. Then, a voice echoed in their minds, not spoken aloud but transmitted directly into their thoughts. It was calm, yet commanding, resonating with an authority that left no room for doubt. "You have communicated," the alien said. "Explain your purpose." Emma swallowed hard, her heart pounding. She glanced at Dr. Monroe, who gave her an encouraging nod. Summoning every ounce of courage, she stepped forward. "We know why you're here," she began, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. "We understand that Earth contains a weapon, a failsafe meant to prevent chaos in the universe. But humanity isn't the threat you think we are. We're capable of learning, of growing. Please, give us a chance to prove ourselves." The alien tilted its head slightly as if considering her words. "Your species has caused great harm to your planet. Pollution, war, destruction. How can we trust that you will change?" Emma hesitated, searching for the right response. "We've made mistakes, that's true, but we're also capable of incredible things. Art, science, kindness. We've started to fix some of the damage we've done. If you destroy us, you'll be taking away our potential to become something better." The alien paused, its shimmering form reflecting the dim light of the setting sun. After what felt like an eternity, it spoke again. "Your plea is noted. However, the decision is not ours alone to make. You must present your case before the council." "The council?" Emma repeated, confused. "Our leaders," the alien explained. "They oversee matters of cosmic significance. If you wish to avoid termination, you must convince them of your worth." Hope surged within Emma. This was progress, a chance to negotiate rather than face immediate annihilation. "How do we meet with the council?" she asked. "You will be brought aboard," the alien replied. "But beware. Failure to persuade them will result in immediate execution of your plan." Before anyone could respond, the alien raised one of its long arms, and a second beam of light enveloped the group. In an instant, they were transported inside the alien ship. The interior was unlike anything they had ever seen. The walls shimmered with iridescent colors, shifting and flowing like living water. Strange symbols floated in mid-air, pulsing with soft light. The air was cool and smelled faintly of ozone, making it feel almost electric. As they followed the alien guide through winding corridors, Emma couldn't help but marvel at the advanced technology surrounding them. They were led to a large chamber dominated by a circular platform suspended in mid-air. Around the edges of the room, holographic projections displayed images of distant galaxies, stars, and planets. At the center of the platform stood several figures, other aliens, presumably members of the council. Their forms varied slightly from the one that had greeted them outside, but they shared the same sleek metallic appearance. One of the council members stepped forward, its presence radiating authority. "You stand before us, representatives of humanity," it said, its voice echoing in their minds. "State your case." Emma stepped onto the platform, her legs trembling beneath her. She knew this was their only opportunity to save Earth, and failure wasn't an option. Drawing strength from the faces of her friends behind her, she began to speak. "Earth is a place of beauty and wonder," she said, her voice clear and unwavering. "Yes, we've made mistakes, terrible ones, but we're learning. Every day, people are working to heal the planet, to protect its creatures to create a better future. We may be flawed, but we're also capable of greatness. Give us time, and we'll show you that we're worth saving. The council members exchanged silent glances, their expressions unreadable. One of them gestured, and a hologram appeared above the platform. It showed scenes of Earth's history, ancient civilizations building pyramids, astronauts walking on the moon, scientists discovering cures for diseases. Then the image shifted, showing modern efforts to combat climate change, preserve endangered species, and explore space. These achievements are commendable, one of the council members said, but they are overshadowed by the harm your species has caused. The balance of the universe cannot be risked for uncertainty. Emma clenched her fists, desperation creeping into her tone. I understand your concerns, but wiping us out won't solve anything. If you destroy Earth, you'll lose the chance to see what we can become. Isn't that worth taking a risk? The council fell silent, their glowing forms casting eerie shadows across the chamber. For a moment, it seemed as though their decision would go against humanity. Then the lead council member spoke. Very well, it said. We will grant you a trial period. 6 months to demonstrate your commitment to preserving life and maintaining balance. Fail, and the weapon will activate as planned. Relief washed over Emma, followed quickly by resolve. Thank you, she said, bowing her head respectfully. We won't let you down. With that, the council dismissed them, and the same beam of light returned them to Earth. As they reappeared near the transmitter, the alien ship began to ascend, disappearing into the sky. The town of Maplewood erupted in cheers, unaware of the monumental agreement that had just been struck. Back at the command center, Captain Lewis approached Emma. His usual stern demeanor softened slightly. Looks like you pulled it off, he said gruffly. Don't screw it up. Emma smiled faintly, exhaustion finally catching up to her. We won't, she promised. Not after everything we've been through. Over the next few weeks, humanity rallied together like never before. Government set aside differences to collaborate on environmental initiatives. Scientists worked around the clock to develop sustainable technologies. Ordinary citizens volunteered their time and resources to clean oceans, plant trees, and care for wildlife. It was as if the entire world had awakened to the fragility of their existence and the value of protecting it. Emma and her friends became symbols of hope, their story inspiring millions to take action. Though the 6-month deadline loomed large, they refused to dwell on fear. Instead, they focused on the present, determined to make every moment count. As Emma looked up at the night sky, now free of alien ships, she felt a strange mix of gratitude and responsibility. Humanity had been given a second chance, a gift she vowed never to take for granted. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew, they would face them together. The 6-month deadline loomed over humanity like a storm cloud, constant and unrelenting. Every day felt heavier than the last, as if the weight of the universe rested on their shoulders. But despite the pressure, people around the world banded together in ways no one could have predicted. It was as though the threat of annihilation had stripped away differences, leaving behind a shared determination to survive. Emma Taylor became an unlikely leader during this time. Her name appeared in news headlines, her face broadcast across television screens worldwide. People marveled at how a high school girl from a small Midwest town had managed to negotiate with extraterrestrial beings. Though she tried to avoid the spotlight, Emma embraced her role because she knew it mattered. If humanity was going to prove itself worthy, they needed someone to remind them what they were fighting for. Every morning, Emma met with Dr. Lisa Monroe and Jake Harper at the makeshift headquarters set up in the community center. Daniel joined them too, though his contributions often came in the form of wild ideas scribbled on scraps of paper. Together, they monitored global efforts to restore Earth's balance, tracking progress in reforestation projects, ocean cleanup initiatives, and renewable energy programs. They also worked closely with Captain Ryan Lewis, who had softened slightly since the alien encounter, but still maintained his strict military demeanor. One afternoon, As they pored over reports detailing carbon emission reductions, Dr. Monroe leaned back in her chair and sighed. "It's amazing how much has been accomplished in such a short time," she said thoughtfully. "But I can't help wondering if it'll be enough." Emma glanced up from her laptop. "We have to believe it will be," she replied firmly. "If we start doubting ourselves now, we're already defeated." Jake nodded in agreement. "Besides, we've got something those aliens don't expect. Heart. Humanity might be messy, but when push comes to shove, we pull together." His words brought a faint smile to Emma's face, though doubt lingered in the corners of her mind. The Council hadn't given them specific criteria for success. All they knew was that humanity had to demonstrate its ability to coexist peacefully with Earth and the universe. How exactly they would measure that remained a mystery. As weeks passed, tensions began to rise. Some governments grew impatient, accusing others of not doing enough. Protests erupted in major cities demanding faster action. Conspiracy theories spread online, claiming the whole alien encounter was a hoax or part of some secret government experiment. Through it all, Emma stayed focused, reminding everyone that fear and division were exactly what the aliens sought to prevent. Then, halfway through the trial period, disaster struck. A massive earthquake shook the Pacific coast, triggering tsunamis that devastated coastal communities. Scientists quickly determined the quake wasn't natural. It originated deep within Earth's core, near the location where the alien weapon was believed to reside. Panic spread as rumors circulated that the aliens had remotely activated the failsafe early. Emma received an urgent call from Captain Lewis late that night. "We need you at the command center," he said, his voice tight with urgency. "Something's happening, and we think it's connected to the crystal." She rushed to the community center, heart pounding. When she arrived, she found Dr. Monroe and Jake huddled over the crystal, which now pulsed erratically with a harsh red light. Its usual calming glow had turned violent, almost angry. "What's wrong with it?" Emma asked, her voice trembling. "It's reacting to seismic activity," Dr. Monroe explained. "The quake disrupted whatever stability the weapon had. If we don't stabilize it soon, it could trigger a chain reaction that destroys the planet." Emma felt her knees weaken. "Can we stop it?" Dr. Monroe hesitated. "Maybe, but we'd need to interface directly with the weapon's core, and that's buried miles beneath the surface. Even if we could get there, we'd need advanced technology we don't have." Jake frowned. "So basically we're screwed." "Not necessarily," Emma said suddenly, her mind racing. "The aliens gave us the crystal for a reason. Maybe it's more than just a communication tool. Maybe it's the key to stabilizing the weapon." Dr. Monroe raised an eyebrow. "That's a big assumption. If you're wrong, interfacing with the crystal could make things worse." "I know," Emma admitted. "But we don't have any other options, do we?" After a tense discussion, they decided to try. Using the modified transmitter, they connected the crystal to a network of satellites designed to monitor Earth's core. As they initiated the process, the crystal's light intensified, bathing the room in a blinding crimson hue. Images flooded Emma's mind again, this time showing Earth splitting apart, continents crumbling into oceans, skies choked with ash. Gasping, she pulled herself out of the vision. "It's showing me the consequences if we fail," she said hoarsely. "We have to hurry." For hours they worked tirelessly, adjusting frequencies and calibrating the system. Just as hope began to fade, the crystal's light shifted from red to blue. The pulsing slowed, then steadied, until finally it returned to its original glow. A collective sigh of relief filled the room. "We did it," Dr. Monroe whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. "You saved us, Emma." Emma shook her head. "We saved us. All of us." Though the immediate crisis had been averted, the incident served as a sobering reminder of how fragile their situation truly was. The aliens' warning rang louder than ever. Earth wasn't just a home. It was a weapon waiting to detonate. Humanity couldn't afford to falter, not even for a moment. In the weeks that followed, global cooperation reached new heights. Nations, pooled resources to develop technologies aimed at permanently neutralizing the weapon. Engineers and scientists collaborated on designs for devices capable of stabilizing Earth's core. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens continued their efforts to heal the planet, planting trees, cleaning rivers, and reducing waste. Emma traveled extensively, visiting affected regions and speaking to crowds about the importance of unity. She spoke plainly, using simple words to convey complex truths. This isn't just about surviving, she told a packed auditorium in New York City. It's about proving that we're worth saving, that we can be better, not just for ourselves, but for the universe. Her speeches resonated deeply, inspiring millions to take action. Social media lit up with hashtags like #CHAOK Save Earth Together and #CHAOK Prove Our Worth. Children drew pictures of aliens shaking hands with humans, while artists painted murals depicting Earth as a beacon of hope. Despite the progress, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the aliens were watching, not physically, but through the symbols etched into the crystal in the ship's hull. They weren't just judges, they were observers, cataloging every triumph and failure. This realization weighed heavily on her, fueling sleepless nights spent staring at the stars. One evening, as she sat on the porch of her family's home, Daniel joined her. He carried 2 mugs of hot chocolate, handing one to her before sitting down. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was comforting, broken only by the chirping of crickets and the distant hum of cicadas. "You think we'll make it?" Daniel asked quietly, his voice tinged with uncertainty. Emma took a sip of her drink, letting the warmth seep into her bones. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I do know we're doing everything we can. And sometimes that's all anyone can ask for." Daniel nodded slowly. "Do you ever wonder why they picked us? Why they let us try instead of just destroying us outright?" Emma smiled faintly. "Maybe because they saw something in us, something worth saving. Or maybe they just wanted to see if we'd surprise them." They fell silent again, gazing up at the night sky. The stars twinkled brightly, each one a reminder of how vast and mysterious the universe truly was. Emma felt small yet significant, like a single thread woven into an infinite tapestry. As the final days of the trial period approached, anticipation gripped the world. On the morning of the deadline, billions gathered in public squares, parks, and living rooms waiting anxiously for word from the aliens. The atmosphere was electric, charged with equal parts hope and dread. At precisely noon, the alien ship descended once more, hovering silently above the horizon. A beam of light shot down, enveloping Emma, Dr. Monroe, Captain Lewis, and several representatives from global organizations. When the light faded, they found themselves aboard the vessel, standing before the council. The lead council member stepped forward, its metallic form gleaming under the chamber's shifting lights. "Your trial period has ended," it announced. "Present your case." Emma stepped forward, her heart pounding but her resolve unshaken. "We've done everything you asked of us, and more. We've worked together, healed our planet, and shown that we're capable of change. Please give us the chance to continue growing, to become the species we're meant to be." The celebrations lasted for days, spreading across the globe like wildfire. Cities lit up with fireworks, streets filled with music and laughter, and strangers embraced as if they were old friends. Humanity had faced its darkest hour and emerged, victorious, or so it seemed. For Emma Taylor, however, the victory felt bittersweet. She knew the aliens' decision wasn't just a gift. It was a test. A fragile thread tied them to survival, and one misstep could sever it forever. In the weeks that followed, life slowly returned to normal, or at least as normal as it could be after such an event. Schools reopened, businesses resumed operations, and people went back to their routines. But beneath the surface, everything had changed. The memory of the alien encounter lingered in every conversation, every action, and every choice. People began living differently, more consciously, aware that Earth's survival depended on their collective effort. Emma found herself thrust into the role of a global ambassador. World leaders sought her advice, environmentalists invited her to speak at conferences, and scientists asked for her input on projects aimed at stabilizing Earth's core. Though she tried to stay humble, she couldn't deny the impact she'd had. Her words carried weight, and she used them wisely, reminding everyone that their work was far from over. Dr. Lisa Monroe continued her research, studying the crystal and the symbols etched into the alien ship. She believed the object held secrets beyond its ability to stabilize the weapon. "It's not just a tool," she told Emma one evening as they worked late in the makeshift lab. "It's a key, a connection to something much bigger." "What do you mean?" Emma asked, peering at the glowing crystal. "I'm not sure yet," Dr. Monroe admitted, "but I think the aliens left it behind for a reason. Maybe they wanted us to learn more about ourselves, or about them." Jake Harper joined the discussion, leaning back in his chair with a smirk. "Or maybe they just forgot it." Despite his sarcasm, Emma sensed there was truth in Dr. Monroe's theory. The crystal wasn't random, it was deliberate. And as long as it remained in their possession, humanity had a chance to uncover its deeper purpose. Daniel, meanwhile, became obsessed with learning more about the aliens. He spent hours sketching their sleek forms and imagining what their home planet might look like. His fascination bordered on obsession, but Emma didn't discourage him. If anything, she encouraged it. After all, someone needed to dream about the future. Someone needed to believe in possibilities others couldn't see. As months passed, the world transformed in subtle yet profound ways. Renewable energy sources replaced fossil fuels, forests began to regrow where they had been destroyed, and oceans showed signs of healing. Even the smallest acts, like planting a tree or recycling waste, took on new meaning. People no longer saw themselves as separate from the planet. They understood they were part of it, intertwined with its fate. But progress wasn't without challenges. Some corporations resisted change, unwilling to abandon profitable practices that harmed the environment. Others argued that humanity's newfound unity came at the cost of individual freedoms. Protests erupted in certain regions, and tensions flared between nations still struggling to cooperate fully. Captain Ryan Lewis often reminded Emma that peace was fragile, easily shattered by greed or fear. "You've done amazing things," he told her one day as they stood outside the community center. "But don't let your guard down. One wrong move, and we're back where we started." Emma nodded, knowing he was right. The alien's warning echoed in her mind daily. The universe was watching. Every decision mattered. Every action counted. There was no room for complacency. One evening, as Emma sat alone on her porch staring at the stars, a strange sensation washed over her. It wasn't fear or excitement. It was curiosity. The aliens had spared Earth, but why? What made humanity special enough to warrant a second chance? She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story, something hidden beneath the surface. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door. When she opened it, she found Dr. Monroe standing there, holding the crystal. Its glow was fainter than usual, almost as if it were fading. "Emma," Dr. Monroe said urgently, "we need to talk." They sat together in the living room, the crystal resting on the coffee table between them. "I've been analyzing it nonstop," Dr. Monroe explained, "and I think I've figured out why the aliens left it behind." Emma leaned forward, her heart racing. "Why?" "It's not just a stabilizer," Dr. Monroe replied. "It's a map, a guide to other planets like Earth. Planets engineered as weapons, waiting to be activated." Emma stared at her, stunned. "You mean, there are more?" "Yes," Dr. Monroe confirmed, "and I think the aliens expected us to find this out. They gave us the crystal because they want us to help neutralize those weapons too." The weight of the revelation hit Emma like a tidal wave. Humanity wasn't just fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting for the entire universe. The responsibility was staggering, but also exhilarating. If they succeeded, they could prevent countless worlds from suffering the same fate. Over the next few weeks, Emma, Dr. Monroe, Jake, and Daniel worked tirelessly to decode the crystal's map. It revealed coordinates scattered across galaxies, each marking a planet containing a dormant weapon. Some were close enough to reach with current technology. Others lay beyond the edge of known space. "We can't do this alone," Emma said, during one of their late-night brainstorming sessions. "We'll need help, from scientists, engineers, astronauts, everyone. And funding," Jake added dryly. "Lots of it," Emma smiled faintly. "We'll figure it out, we always do." As word of their discovery spread, governments and organizations around the world pledged support. Teams of experts assembled to design spacecraft capable of traveling vast distances. Volunteers signed up for missions, knowing the risks but willing to take them for the greater good. Humanity's focus shifted outward, toward the stars. Before long, the first mission launched. A team of scientists and engineers boarded a newly constructed vessel, equipped with advanced technology derived from the crystal's data. Their destination was a nearby star system, where a planet similar to Earth awaited exploration. Emma watched the launch from Maplewood, tears streaming down her face as the rocket disappeared into the sky. Though she stayed behind to oversee global efforts, Emma couldn't help feeling a pang of envy. She longed to join the crew, to see the universe firsthand and confront the mysteries it held. But she knew her place was here, guiding humanity through this new chapter. Months turned into years, and the missions continued. Each success brought humanity closer to securing the universe's balance, while failures served as harsh reminders of the stakes. Through it all, Emma remained steadfast, inspiring others with her unwavering determination. One night, as she stood on her porch once more gazing at the stars, Daniel joined her. He carried a telescope slung over his shoulder, his eyes bright with wonder. "Do you think we'll ever meet them again?" he asked, referring to the aliens. Emma thought for a moment before answering. "Maybe. Or maybe they'll watch from afar, seeing how far we've come." Daniel smiled. "Either way, we've got this, right?" Emma nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "Yeah, Spaceboy, we've got this." As the wind rustled through, the trees and the stars twinkled above. Emma felt a deep sense of gratitude for Earth, for humanity, and for the endless possibilities that lay ahead. The journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long while she allowed herself to believe in a future filled with hope. And so, under the vast expanse of the cosmos, humanity took its first steps toward becoming stewards of the universe. Not just for themselves, but for all who called it home.